Good day, my friends. It's just over a year ago that our mission team came back from Guatemala. While we were there, one of the things that stood out to me was our visit to the orphanage that had been built and that they were waiting to receive children in. It stands out because at the time, they did not know whether or not they would ever receive government approval to do the work that they had felt led to do. They have a difficult challenge there that the government is reluctant to approve anything around children because there's been so much abuse and mistreatment. Now, in our context and time, we find ourselves strangely in a similar circumstance in that we have a building and we have property and we have things that we always love to do that we find ourselves unable to do right now, don't we? Thanks to the government's rules about social distancing, about quarantine and keeping our distance from one another, we find ourselves struggling, perhaps, to see and understand what the point is and how to do the work that we've been given by God to do, to go and make disciples. Listen, what stands out and what I so appreciate about the ministry and mission of Impact Ministries is that they trusted the Lord and continue to pray and walk by faith when they could not see the outcome and they could not see the end of the situation they found themselves in. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Right now, we don't know how long the government's going to expect us to follow these regulations and rules. We don't know how long this pandemic's going to last. We don't know how long, some of us, we will be asked to stay in our homes and not go anywhere. But friends, what we do know is that God is still building his church, that God is still good, that he's still seeking and saving the lost. What I so appreciate about my Heavenly Father is that he came and sought me, that he found me, and he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die for me. He did the same thing for you. God is still not willing, even in the middle of a pandemic, he is still not willing for anybody to perish without him. And so the challenge for us in the midst of these moments, of these days, is to continue to be like Jesus and seek and save the lost. It seems to me that now more than ever, those personal contexts, those personal questions and invitations can make more difference than ever before. What if each one of us found somebody that we could share the hope we have in Jesus with? What if each one of us could remember that, as Pastor Chad reminded us this morning at our prayer time, Ed Stetzer said it this way, the church has left the building. We used to say back in the day, Elvis has left the building. Now, my friends, the church has been forced to leave the building because you and I, we are the church. We've been asked to go out and to keep our distance. But in the middle of this time, when people are so disconnected, we have the greatest opportunity, perhaps in some of our lifetimes, to offer hope and help and connection. And we can do so by using technology. We can do so by using our phones. We can do email. We can do messaging. There's so many ways we can do this. But what we can do when we reach out is we can say, hey, we care. What we can do when we reach out is we can brag about how in the midst of this moment, as a church, we are loving each other. We are connected daily, not just once a week. We're connected and able to be connected in a way that we should have been all along, if we're really honest. And the opportunity we have, you and I, is to show one another that we care. And by loving one another as the church, the community, the county, and even the country around us will be transformed. See, in the book of Acts, the early church, they didn't wait to see each other and to meet once a week. They met daily, it tells us. They met for fellowship, they met for prayer, they met for teaching, they met for food. And they did so and in order to show love for one another, and in order to be in each other's lives so that they could care for each other. Today, in this time, we can love each other in such a way that the community around us will say, I want what they have. I want to be connected. I want to be part of something like that. We can express the love of God out of the overflow of our hearts because he's filled our hearts with his love, hasn't he? Years ago, I was reminded just recently that years ago, Tony Campolo said about Easter weekend, he said, yeah, it's Friday, but Sunday's coming. It's Friday, but Sunday's coming. What he meant was that on Good Friday, It felt a lot like many of us feel right now. It felt like a fearful time. It felt like a difficult time. It felt like a lonely time. It felt like a time for sadness and perhaps even depression. But the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ is that when Sunday comes, God's power manifests in such a way that there's a resurrection. And I'm so proud of our church. I'm so proud of the churches in our region that they have not died just because they cannot meet. But my friends, I believe that there's an opportunity for a resurrection, a renewal, even a revival like we have never seen before. Because in this moment, how we as a church live, how we connect, how we love, how we care for one another and this community is our opportunity to demonstrate how great God truly is. That the God who never leaves us or forsakes us is still present. That the God who promised to build his church is still at work. What I know is this: we're in a Friday moment. This social distancing, this pandemic that's affecting all of us, it's a Friday moment. Things feel like they've ended. But Sunday's coming. The power of the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that power of God that raised him from the dead, is the same power in you and I to save all who believe and all who are willing to come to him. Let me encourage you. Take the opportunity. Keep taking the opportunity. Call your neighbor. Reach out. Send an email. Find a way to connect. And by doing so, who knows but you might earn a reward. For those who bring a child to Jesus, receive a special reward from our Father in heaven. Every opportunity we have, you can still do. You can do now. You can engage. You can love. And ask yourself just this: even when Sunday comes, as it were, even when this pandemic ends, what will our new normal be? I pray that our new normal will be that each one regularly striving to reach one, so that we can see the work of God advance here in Hillsborough, in Albert County, and across Canada and around the world. What if each one of us was ready to give an answer for the hope we have as we remember in the midst of this moment that yes, it's Friday, but Sunday's coming because God is good. My friends, have a blessed day.